Hey everybody, how's it going? Dan here,
And Steven.
and it is still so weird to me that the song Cinema starts side two of that album. It's just such a great intro song, but of course they wanted the big um what eminent hit to be the first song. That was Trevor Horn's decision, and good play on that.
Right. Yeah, and since you mentioned that, the other day was actually in some places, I guess people called it 90125 day because it was the
That's right.
ninth day rather of the first month of 2025. So people were having a little bit of fun with that, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, so something that we are starting to get in the groove of is the icebreaker, and one that I came up with. Well, first, I want to start off like before going into the icebreaker, going into like acknowledging the passing of Colin Carter, who was Peter Banks's bandmate in the band Flash. He was vocalist, also did some percussion, I believe. George Meitzer said, "With great sadness, I have to announce the passing of our dear friend Colin Carter. He passed away January 10th, 2025, 7:59 a.m. Pacific time." And he said, "Pete and Colin are once again together, storming along." And I actually have a couple pictures here to screen share. But yeah, I do remember. I don't remember if we listened to it for the show or off air, but listening to a bit of that Flash material, um, like the vocals really do stand out and like complement the psychedelic nature of some of that material that I remember.
Imagine Colin and Peter with Alan and Chris, either like that or bringing Keith Emerson on keyboards with them.
Oh
That'd be a
yeah,
hell of a band.
yeah, that would be. And I also have another one here.
That would
I
be
just
good
showed one
too.
of the two of them on stage, and here's one of them, I guess, outside. And yeah, I'm getting back into the groove of this, folks, as we get into this
Yeah,
new
we took some
year.
time off for the holidays, Drum Talk TV and Yesshift, and refamiliarizing ourselves with the control panel. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
not flying a plane for a while, and then you get in, and some of the switches have been moved.
right, yeah. But okay, so this one is in black and white, and it shows both of them outside, and Colin is holding the this thing that has the Flash logo on
Yeah,
it. So yeah,
very
and
cool.
yeah, so gone but not forgotten. But yeah, so getting into the icebreaker, since we're doing January birthday shout outs, today is Tony K's birthday. I think the 13th is Trevor Rabin's, and the 16th is John Davison. So we're giving birthday shout outs to them. And for my icebreaker, my question to you, Dad, is how different do you think Fragile would have been if Tony K had still been the keyboardist?
Wow, what a question! Did not see that coming. And folks, this is for all of you as well. Go ahead and answer in the comments and tell us where you're watching from.
Yeah,
You know, that's a
I see Dave Watkinson saying hello from cold England, and Sammy Nice tuning in from Nigeria. So thanks for tuning
nice.
in. Yeah,
You know, that question's almost profound because I don't know if there'd be a Fragile without Rick Wakeman. Just had such a huge impact coming into the band that, like we've all heard how Heart of the Sunrise was written and all of that. So, and would it have a Roger Dean cover? Like, I don't remember how that relationship started. I vaguely remember, but I,
yeah, I
I
think
think
it still would have.
yeah, okay, that's fair. And I think that musically, had they had done Fragile as Fragile, some of the songs may not have appeared, but other songs may have. And I think it would have been more of a natural progression from the previous album. which would have been interesting, but I don't think it would have been as if I could say coloring outside the lines. You know, Tony brought a very sort of traditional organ, piano, and blues playing with his playing. And I don't mean that in a minimized way or limited way musically whatsoever. Whereas Rick was more out there, if you will. Yeah, I don't know
Yeah,
how else to say it, right? With the
yeah.
synthesizer sounds being brought in and strings and whatnot on the Mellotron. So that's my take.
Okay.
How about
So
you?
yeah, I think the album, like, I think some of the songs would have still been on there, but would have been a bit different. I know, I feel like Roundabout has a little bit of a Tony feel, like the part where it's like do 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 do, you know that part. I could see. I mean, we have seen Tony play Roundabout
Right.
live on later stuff. Heart of the Sunrise, that feels very Rick, so maybe that would have been very different. South Side of the Sky definitely like feels very Rick Wakeman's fingerprints
Yeah.
on that. Um, so you know, if they did do those songs, I almost wonder if they would have tried telling Tony, "Hey, can you try playing it like a bit this way?" Or if he would have pushed for his own stamp on things. You know, like he has said that he was kind of hoping Yes would go in a more of a blues rock direction. So I kind of wonder like what that might have been like. And
Yeah. I wonder if
you
long
know,
distance runaround would have come to light.
yeah, and would he have been down with the idea of doing one solo piece from each member? You know, like
Right.
would he have done his own like little keys solo for a couple minutes? Like what would that have been like? Or would they have not done the solo pieces and maybe instead just thrown their cover of America on there? Because that feels a
Oh,
bit more like the direction that Tony might have liked, and he even played America with them before leaving the band. You know, that long 16-minute live version.
yeah.
So
That's an interesting
yeah,
take.
yeah,
Yeah. Them doing those solo pieces remind me, was that a unanimous decision? Was everyone on board or did anybody push back? I don't recall.
I'm not really sure. I do know that Rick, because of contract stuff with the label he was on, he couldn't
He had to do a
get a.
cover.
Yeah, he had to do a cover and couldn't get credit on certain things, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, which is why you get Cans and Brahms, which is kind of a little bit out there. Maybe he would have tried something different, maybe something from Six Wives for all we know, but yeah,
Hmm.
it's quite an interesting scenario to think about. Um,
Good
and
question.
yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
And I did see Billy Sherwood for Tony K's birthday. He posted a video from YouTube containing the Circa track Silent Resolve, and it's a neat little video. Parts of it show the four band members at the time, like in this like four different squares on screen, so you see each of them playing. So it's Billy, Tony, and at the time they had Scott Connor on drums and Rick Tierney on bass for that song. And you see some nice Tony photos throughout as well. And
Cool.
what struck me about it is the beginning of it. The keys at the beginning kind of feel like a bit more of a Wakeman
Oh,
feel, but
really?
then throughout it's like, okay, yeah, this is Tony. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think that was a neat track, and also a reminder that I need to, and I'm going to for like near future stuff. Gonna go digging deeper into the Circa catalog, because I do remember when that band was announced at the time, like it was such a mind blowing thing. Like, whoa, you have Billy, Tony, Alan, and Jimmy Hahn, and
Yeah.
I've heard a few of the tracks at least, seen the Yes medley, so it's but a lot of the catalog has been a blind spot for me, and I
Hmm.
hear people here and there telling me, "Hey, you gotta listen to Circa. You gotta listen to Circa." It's like, yes, I need to like go ahead and dive headfirst into that finally. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Good question. Again, that was really cool.
Yeah,
Provocative for sure. And it
Yeah.
ties in with some of our news,
Oh
which we'll
yeah.
get to.
Yeah, and so the other birthday or two of three, Trevor Rabin, and I did see a post saying that the Rabins are safe. So, and it seemed like a trustworthy post. It was in a Trevor Rabin group. So, hoping
Yeah,
that
for those who
everything
don't
is well
know,
with them.
yeah, for those who don't know, Steve's referring to the fact that they do live near where the fires are in Southern California. So we've been concerned about that, and um,
Yeah.
lot of artists and people, of course, in the entertainment industry live there. Um, and it's an area where I grew up in, not the well-to-do area, but like those beaches. I grew up on those beaches: Malibu, Zuma, Topanga, Pacific Palisades area. My father grew up in Venice. My mom, Culver City, Santa Monica. It's like the whole area has just been really difficult to take in, being that it's been part of our history. Steve is a little boy up and down the Pacific Coast Highway on the way back and forth from Ventura to San Diego, where each of us were living, and it's really tough to see. So, um, anybody that might be watching that was near there or part of that, thanks for taking the time. Our hearts go out to all of you.
Yeah, for sure. Um, so regarding Trevor, something that I saw this post from someone about an old interview, like from a magazine, and in that magazine, it was like from 1989. Trevor, had done "Can't Look Away," and he was saying that he plans on doing another solo album next year, and so
Mm,
that got me thinking, like, wow, so what would that solo album have been if like the union thing didn't happen? I remember he said "Saving My Heart" was something that he wasn't sure could be a Yes thing, and was maybe going to work on with Roger Hodgson, and of course they worked on Walls. So I do
yeah,
kind of wonder, like, what would the Trevor Rabin like 1990 solo album
lift
have
me
been
up.
back
Maybe
then?
could have been on that.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. That's kind of it's kind of tough to guess because like he he demoed "Lift Me Up," but then sent it to John when he was asking for some demos for ABWH to use, and it's yeah. And I mean, that whole situation was a really weird one. It still boggles my mind that the union situation did in fact happen, but yeah,
Yeah,
it kind of gets you thinking. And for so long we didn't have another vocal solo album from him until we finally got Rio over a year ago. So glad we got that, and if he ever does another one, like, we'll
yeah,
be looking forward to that
for
as
sure.
well. And as for John Davison, I remember recently I saw a post where someone said, "What do you think of John Davison?" And so I figure I'll say it here. I think he's a very kind person and a really great singer. I feel like people are too harsh on him just because of, like, the personnel changes, but I do think he really is a great singer. He sings with he sings his heart out. He has passion in what he's singing. Like, there's nothing artificial about it.
I agree.
I really think he is, like, with it, with the Yes set lists and performances and whatnot. And I do like his songwriting. Songwriting. Heaven and Earth got a lot of flack, which, I mean, Heaven and Earth was Heaven and Earth, but in the last couple albums I've really enjoyed his contributions there.
Likewise, I echo all of that. Yeah, that's cool. And John, happy birthday. Don't remember where John lives. I don't know if he still lives in Long Beach or if he's closer to where the.
John Davison, I think he lives in England these days, if I'm not
Oh,
mistaken.
really?
Yeah,
Okay.
right,
Okay. Cool. Hopefully he's
right.
safe. Great.
All right. So next up on our little agenda here, oh, recently you well, I guess it was recorded in October, but finally came out recently. You were on the Music Rewind podcast where you guys talked about Tales from Topographic Oceans. How
Yeah,
was that on your end?
that was a lot of fun. And I wish the whole thing came out on video. Steve, the other Steve Epley, who did it. Thank you, Steve, for having me on. It was great. And it was something that was never on Steve Epley's radar. So it's always fun to turn people on to new music to them, and good music, and yes, music to boot. And the theme was basically, if I remember right, kind of like what you're stuck on an island album, if I remember right, or your one go-to
Yeah.
that you never get tired of. And for me, it's Tales from Topographic Oceans. I could probably easily, off the top of my head, name 10 to 20 albums by different bands that I'd be fine with. And there's 10 to 20 albums that are on my personal rotation here in the house and when I'm driving. But Tails is way up at the top for so many reasons, and it was fun to talk about. And I even you hopefully will be impressed, son. I even refreshed myself about it because often, I think I do what most people do. If I'm not where I'm going to let the whole thing play, which is a long time, I'll listen to the Revealing Science of God, which is the first piece, or the fourth piece, which is Ritual. But taking in the ancient and the remembering again was really refreshing. And I think I texted you last night or the night before saying I'm listening to the remembering while I'm cooking, and it just there's such great music on there. And I don't know, it still boggles my mind that Rick Wakeman has given it so much flack, and it's kind of comical to me that it's a favorite amongst so many old school Yes fans, and it's his least favorite Yes thing that he played on. That's just kind of there's such a weird dichotomy there, but it was fun to talk about it. It really was, because there's so much to talk about. Everything they could spill out, I think, ended up on that album. And I disagree with Rick that there's a lot of padding. There might be some, stuff that gets reprised and repeats that didn't need to as much as it did. But all in all, there's some extremely solid artwork throughout, I feel.
Yeah, and going back earlier to the like the fragile discussion, like if the solo pieces hadn't been on there, like I was kind of thinking of this yesterday or the day before, like would Mood for a Day have then ended up somewhere on Tails, like maybe within the remembering or something, or maybe Steve
Maybe,
would have saved it for beginnings. Like it's interesting to
maybe.
think about.
It is. And let's not forget one other thing that to close that out on is I remember, I believe I mentioned this on the show with Steve Epley, just marveling that we kind of remember how young they were.
Yeah.
This is 1973, and they were all younger than you are now, right?
Yeah, that's really crazy to think about.
Yeah, they were, and in my scope, I'll be 62 in a couple months. They were children.
Yeah.
Because you're 30, if I hope you don't mind me saying that, but it's really
Right.
mind-boggling. But what's interesting to me, last bonus thing, is that sometimes the amount of what comes out of us artistically, whatever that is, whether it's painting, pottery, singing, music, writing, storytelling, sometimes what comes out of us musically is based on our overt or subliminal limitations. And some of the things sometimes addressed by those limitations are things like, well, the canvas can only be this big. You can only use primary colors. Video can only be this long. Musically, it's got to be top 40 single material. They were just unabashed, without limits. And I think that enabled them to get even more creative in an unlimited direction. And that's why, for that age, if you think of it that way, I think it totally makes sense, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Cool.
Right. So
Now I want to
people
listen to the
can
album.
yeah. So Music Rewind let me just make sure I have the Music Rewind podcast.com is where people can check it out and all the
Yeah.
different places it's available.
And by the way, folks, it took so long to put out because Steve had to edit out all my F bombs. I'm kidding. It's clean. It's a family friendly show. It's a great show to
Right.
discover music too. It really is. I highly recommend.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so this next news item. So January 24th, we'll see the release of. So available for the first time on vinyl, an exploration into Yes's breakthrough 1971 fourth studio album, Fragile, remixed by Steven Wilson. Includes hits such as Roundabout, Long Distance Runaround, The Fish, and many more. And I've got the picture of it here. It's like a
Fish
green
was considered a hit.
vinyl here. Yeah, as I was reading that, I was like, wait, what? But yeah, I don't know.
It's a hit
Um,
with fans for sure.
yeah, definitely.
And can I
Um,
comment on that? Because I think they goofed.
uh,
Like, far be it for me to say they goofed, but can I tell you where I think they missed out on something here, Steve? And that's perfect to have up. Yes, the green ties in with the earth and the cover and all of that. I love the new rainbow version of the type style where it says fragile, yes. But where they missed out is that I think it should have been clear with like glass cracks printed in it. It's called Fragile, for God's
yeah,
sake. How'd they miss that? Seriously. How, even on the cover, how did they miss that? Uh,
yeah.
what do you think?
I mean, that is really funny. It would fit with the title. So if they had done that, I think that would have been pretty cool. But looking at the green one here, it's like it just
I
looks so
know. So,
good. So
so
I
do it
don't know.
together. Make it green with the cracks, and on the outside cover,
Right.
superimpose one of those red and white stickers with stencil writing that says "Handle with care." It's
Yeah.
fragile.
Yeah. Maybe that'll be the next pressing that they do sometime
They ought to.
down
I
the
hope
line.
they're watching, and why wouldn't they be?
Yeah. And I also see that Wendell Wiggins comments that nice to hear such praise for the perfectly brilliant tales. I was 17 and absolutely blown away to such an imaginable, conceived, and arranged work of art. I saw the full album performed live. Wow,
Oh,
I really envy you, Wendell. Like I would, if I had a time machine, I would go back in time and see that. But
yeah, that's
yeah,
awesome. I was 10 when it came out, and I I think I learned of it the following year, something like that. Yeah, yeah. I fell down the Yes rabbit hole quick once my cousin turned me on to Fragile when it came
right.
out, when I was 10. I think that's when I first got turned on to it. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a Steven Wilson remix. The thing I hear about the Steven Wilson remixes is that they sort of. So I guess to back up, so in case anyone needs clarity, so a remix, from what I understand, is going back to the individual instrument recordings and then changing it so that certain things stand out more or more in front than other things.
And
Whereas,
it could have be affecting the EQ, sonic landscape, soundscape of the whole recording could be changed
right,
because you're.
where right.
Go
Oh,
ahead.
yeah. Sorry. Whereas a remaster is like taking what they considered the final recording and
Yeah.
bringing it to a new release, new format, whatever, making sure it sounds good on that. So, I've heard the remasters of all of these albums, the Rhino ones from the early 2000s, but I don't think I've ever sat down to listen to the remixes, the Steven Wilson remixes. But the things that I hear about them are that they sound pretty good and how they bring your attention to things you didn't know were happening in the background. And, depending on listening habits, people might just stick to the version they already know, but once in a while might reach for the remix if they
Yeah.
want something a little different and not just the same thing.
I
So,
think I'm finally curious enough to check one out. I never have. I've listened to some remasters, but not remixes. And I think that one I would be curious. I this is a can of worms I shouldn't open, but I personally would love to remix Tormato.
yeah,
I can hear in my head how to make that sound and give it the beef that it deserves. And I bet it would be more well received. But anyhow, I digress. I may give this a buy and a listen.
right. And also, one last thing about Tails before we move on. I think I saw somewhere that Kevin Morine is aiming to have his Tales Listening Guide book released in March. So
Nice.
keeping an eye on that.
Oh, we'll have to get that and dive in for sure.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see if that'll maybe add some more layers to how we perceive Tales. But
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's so subjective too, but his books on these listening guides, for my sensibilities, have been extremely spot on, with just a couple different things where I completely disagreed.
Yeah, well, Kevin wrote the Tormato book. You might be thinking of Steven, who wrote the 90125 book and the Every Yes Song, Every Album book.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Sorry, I wasn't sure if you had anything else to say.
No. I'm eager to get this book, though, and for us to talk about it and review it ultimately.
Right. Yeah. Same here. So speaking
when
of
we review books, by the way, folks, we're not reviewing it to say, is it good or is it bad? We're reviewing it to help promote it.
Oh, I do that on my Goodreads, actually.
Yeah, you do. But when we do it on the show, we do it, to give our take and talk about, like, wow, here's something I like. What are the things you learned? What are the things that were cleared up that we heard so many different versions from Rick Wakeman about, things like that. And it's fun to do that,
Right. Yeah. And speaking of green vinyls,
and that's another thing. What's with the green vinyl everyone's putting out?
Yeah, it's like the latest trend, I guess.
But it's a different green.
Yeah. So Rick Wakeman's Yes Sonata is available again on green vinyl. So this is coming in March. It's a limited edition, and it was cut at Abbey Road Studios, and it's available while stocks last. And of course, for those who don't already know, the Yes Sonata features a medley of Yes themes adapted for solo piano and is paired with the King Arthur piano suite recorded on a Steinway Model D piano at the old granary. And of course, includes Roger Dean art, so people can find that on Cherry Red Records. And yeah, I like how it matches with the green at the top of the thing.
Yeah. Is it only on vinyl, Steve? I don't recall.
So the vinyl is limited edition. It's also on CD, which I don't think is limited, but we could check that.
I haven't gotten a vinyl player for my truck yet.
For your truck.
You know what? If you Google record turntable in car, you'll see an invention from like the late 60s, early 70s, where there actually was a small turntable in cars. Believe it or not. Yeah, like, I don't know how that works with the needle jumping around, but it actually was a thing.
Yeah, with the things that people come up with, I'm not that surprised, but it does sound amazing. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
Speaking of Wakeman and vinyl, there's another. So the Jazz Sabbath album, the latest one, the 1968 tapes, is available again on blue vinyl, which I'll show a picture of right here. Yeah, so it looks really nice. The one I have is the black one because I think the blue one, they'd run out of stock by the time that I put in my order. But yeah, I think it looks really nice. So it goes really well with that cover.
Yeah.
All right. So next up we have so I saw this over on the Roger Dean Facebook page. They posted another chat between him and his daughter Freya Dean. They had a chat they recorded over the holidays, and they even talked a little bit about C.S. Lewis, and it's always a delight to hear them chat with each other, so people can check that out. And
wait, hold on. Let me interrupt if I may. Where'd StreamYard go? There we go. Hold on one sec. There's one of
there it is.
many examples.
Yeah, the picture of the vinyl in the car you're talking about.
Yeah, that's one, and there's so many. So just Google turntable in car, and you'll see a bunch of stuff. So this is earlier than I thought. A 1956 Chrysler Highway. How the needle stayed, I'm not sure the science of it and how it actually works, but now I want to read up with it. Read up on
Yeah,
it.
I imagine it would have had to be like a really big car. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and these cars were made when America had a lot of extra metal laying around. But I opened up a whole uh, uh, um, Google search, image search on it. And there's Muhammad Ali with it. George Harrison had one. There's some really neat stuff if you Google it, folks. Just it goes on and on and on and on. It's really fascinating, and I love
Yeah,
history and gadgets and stuff like that. So that was kind of fun to discover.
right. Yeah. Oh, and sorry, Dave Walkinson says the blinding light behind Steve looks like a gateway to heaven, a stairway, a portal to past Yes concerts, maybe.
Ooh, go
Uh,
see Tails. I'll come
if
over.
only. Yeah, I'll try that after.
Yeah.
So over on Bill Bruford's YouTube channel, um, he added a Happy New Year message and a video of King Crimson's Mate Kudasai or Kudasai.
Mate Kudasai,
Yeah, okay, yeah,
which
that's how it
means
is.
I will wait, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so that was from a 1995 concert, and he
Great
posted,
tour. It was
yeah, and
just so good.
yeah, and his drum solo from ABWH, An Evening of Yes Music Plus, which I've said before is getting a re-release toward the end of the month, and Earthworks Highland Games from 2005. So yeah, once again, I like that his YouTube channel keeps on uh, adding things to the archives on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but speaking of drumming, we have something going on with Chris Welch sometime soon, don't we, Dad?
We do, and this is very exciting. So on the Drum Talk TV membership site, which is drumtalktvbrilliance.com, we have a one of the features is fan Q&As where the fans can ask the questions. I'm not doing the interview, Steve's not doing the interview. The fans can ask the questions. We moderate it, and it's in a virtual environment. And in a few days, the promo comes out showing the virtual environment this will be in. But for now, here's Chris to invite you to this event. Check this out. And if you're not familiar with Chris Welch, come out from under the rock and check this out.
Hello, I'm Chris Welch. You may know me for my music journalism work on Melody Maker, Musicians Only, and Kerrang! Or even my books. They include Close to the Edge, The Story of Yes, Hendrix, a biography, John Bonham, A Thunder of Drums, and Keith Emerson, the official illustrated story, just to name a few. You can join me for a Q&A where you, the fans, can ask me some questions. Join Drum Talk TV Brilliance over at drumtalktvbrilliance.com. Don't forget the .com.
And Chris spent time on the road with Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix, ELP. I mean, I can only imagine. I don't even know what I would want my first question to be. I guess I'd have to tie it into Led Zeppelin for sure. But this is your chance, folks. So join us for that. You could go to www.drumtalktvbrilliance.com, like Chris said. Steve, maybe you could pop it in the
Yeah.
comments, and then scroll down to the calendar of events. You'll see it. You can RSVP so that you get the information, and it's really going to be fun. Looking forward to having him. We've had a lot of other fun people on. Derek Shulman from Gentle Giant, who of course went on to be the president of Polydor Records and another label, started his own label. We've had Rudy Sarzo recently, the bass player for Quiet Riot, Whitesnake, and Ozzy. We've had Oliver Wakeman, we've had Aaron Emerson, we've had the Kinky Wizards. So not just drummers, and Chris has got to be one of the most popular music / rock journalists ever. So this is gonna be fun. It's very gracious of him to commit to doing this.
Yeah, for sure. Like his book, Close to the Edge, The Story of Yes, it was like when I read that in high school, that was like my Yes Bible, basically, and I'm sure is for lots of people. So, yeah, so like Dad said, the event calendar is on our site, and if you go to the calendar, there's the event landing page, and it'll show you the info, some of the steps of what to keep in mind to be prepared for, like, in terms of navigating and whatnot. So yeah,
In navigating
really
Chris
interesting.
Welch, he can be quite unruly. No, I'm kidding. He's got to be one of those kind people you could ever meet.
Right, for sure. And you're also talking with Jeff Berlin again over on Drum Talk TV, aren't you, Dad?
Yeah, we're doing that on the 14th, right around the corner. In fact, I'm talking to Jeff this
Yeah.
evening to prep a little bit, but we did this before. And Jeff has some contrarian views on bass education, and the rest of music education tends to mirror his take and his theories as well. And he's been very magnanimous about doing this, picked us as a platform. He was my co-host for our 10-year anniversary show for Drum Talk TV in 2023. So he wanted to ask if he could use our platform and have me kind of interview him about this and let him voice his opinions and welcome people to disagree with him or be open to looking at things a little bit differently. It was quite fun the first time we did this a couple months ago before the holidays. So this is going to be part 2. And you can ask Jeff anything, you can address anything with Jeff. We just ask that you be nice about it, because there's some people that have really written him off because of his views. And for those of you who don't know, Jeff Berlin not only was in Bill Bruford's first solo band, discovered by Patrick Moraz and introduced to Bill way back when they were all young men, but Jeff also was a substitute for Tony Levin on the ABWH tour when Tony had hepatitis. And I happened to see that show in San Diego, one of those shows, the one that was in San Diego. And I met Jeff, which was really cool. I met way back then and had no idea that 40 years later, or whatever it's been, this would happen. So it's been fun. So check that out. If you're a musician or not, he's got some really interesting philosophies and takes on what's missing and what's wrong with bass education and music education. And then I think I'll just let the cat out of the bag right here. I've not mentioned this to anyone. I don't even know if Steven, our executive producer, knows this, but Jeff and I, last time we talked about doing this episode, we talked about doing a monthly show about the groove and the relationship of the main heart of the rhythm section between drums and bass. So we're going to work on finalizing that real soon. So there you go.
Oh yeah, that's news to me. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's a news desk edition, Steve.
Yeah.
We had a great name for it that I don't remember. I gotta ask Jeff tonight if he remembers. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. Jeff's a great guy, great player.
Yeah, so that'll be live at Drum Talk TV on Facebook and YouTube, January 14th, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern U.S. time. And yeah, people keep an eye out for that.
And join the membership. Join our membership so that you can do the Chris Welch thing. It's less than a pizza a month. It's less than a 6-pack of beer a month. It's less than a combo meal at any fast food restaurant a month. Just it's so inexpensive, even a drummer can afford it.
Yeah, and for January, since, celebrating the 12th anniversary of Drum Talk TV, there's a promo code DTTVB312. It's listed on the homepage at drumtalktvbrilliance.com, where you can get 3 months for just $12. So it's basically like you're getting 2 additional free months.
Hey, why is it $12? What's up with the special, Steve?
Because of the 12th anniversary of Drum Talk TV.
That's right. January 7th was our official 12-year anniversary. We're celebrating all month by giving away that deal so you can be more part of what we do. And we got all kinds of other things. I don't want to bore everybody with it here on Yesshift, but check it out. Follow Drum Talk TV on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, X, or Vimeo, and you'll get the scoop. Oh, that reminds me, I got to change and I'm going to do this myself, not bother Danielle with it. I got to change the cover image of the Facebook page. It still says, thanks for 11 great years.
Oh, yeah.
I might change that whole image up quite a bit.
Well, it's because the 12th year, one of the 12 years wasn't so great. That's why it says that.
Which one?
Right. Yeah, that's anyone's guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, or it could be one different month from each of the 12 years. Yeah.
And a different person on the staff might have a different take. I'd have to ask Enja.
Right.
All
Yeah.
right.
So
Cool. Thanks for the room on that. That's nice.
yeah, for sure. So this next news item, I think this one kind of broke the internet, at least among Yes and John Anderson fans.
For sure.
So John Anderson and the band Geeks have announced a leg one of their 2025 North American tour.
And they're gonna be in Tucson the day before my birthday, but they're not coming to Phoenix. I live 2 hours north of Tucson and an hour and a half east of Phoenix. I live up in the mountains, folks. And the Las Vegas drum show is March 29th. It's the last Saturday of March in Vegas. And often what we'll do is a bunch of the kids live in Vegas and grandkids, and we stay out there for my birthday. And now I'm tempted to just rush home and get down to Tucson to see that, because I have a feeling, Steve, they'll play stuff that they didn't play when we saw them last August, because the album hadn't come out yet. And I would love to see Counties and Countries live and some of the other stuff, and maybe the new song that John played us a snippet of when we interviewed him. So I'm really torn about what to do here.
Yeah, because I do remember, I think John said somewhere that there will be an hour of Yes music and an hour of true album music.
Yeah.
So,
But wait a
yeah.
minute. Wait. I'm realizing that the day after my birthday, he's near you in Anaheim. And if I do stay in Vegas, he's
Yeah,
there.
these are April 1st and April 3rd, by the way, people.
Yeah,
Just so
my
people
birthday's
have
the second,
time
folks. Write it
context.
down.
Yeah.
Um, and on the 5th, they are in Vegas. So how many? That might be doable. Steve, we'll have to talk about that.
Yeah, for sure. And I hope
Yeah.
that Tucson show isn't just an April Fool's Day prank. It would be kind of mean if people showed up and they're like, just kidding. It's
Hello, we're in
tomorrow.
Phoenix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and folks, I just want to invite people, if you go to that show anywhere along the tour, email us your review, and you could send in pictures too. You could email us at yesshiftpodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from people, right, Steve, that see the show, take pictures, maybe even video clips. And John's smart. When we saw him, I remember shortly before they came on stage, big sign lit up that said, take your cameras out. Like they wanted people to take pictures, make video. So how brilliant is that?
yeah, I think it's always going to depend on the artist, because I can see how, like, flash from a phone can be distracting to some. But
there's
yeah,
no need for flash in that environment. There's zero need with today's technology and smartphones. Like it cracks me up.
Yeah, I know, but like not everyone is adept at turning off the flash.
All right,
But
some people are.
So I get it, but I do.
I know what you're saying. But there's all the flashing lights on stage. But I understand what you're saying.
Right, but yeah. So sorry, I just lost my train of thought right there.
Sorry.
But yeah, they are playing in California at a few shows. I see there's a Washington one, and then some East Coast ones. So those go up to May 18th, and I guess we'll hear whenever Lake 2 is. I imagine maybe they're scheduling these to of working on around their schedules and such. In fact, the personnel for this tour includes Richie Castellano on bass once again, Andy Ascalise on drums, Chris Clark on keyboards, Matt Beck on guitar, and Phil Castellano on keyboards and guitar. And I'm not sure what Robert Kipp's reason for not playing keys on this tour is. I don't know if he maybe had commitments, but Andy Graziano did say that he has his own commitments. So he said, due to family and work commitments, I unfortunately won't be able to participate with the guys this go around. In the meantime, we have been able to secure the services of one of the top guitarists in the land, the amazing Mr. Matt Beck of Matchbox 20, Rob Thomas, the B-52s, Lisa Loeb. I can go on because his CV is endless. You will be in great hands. Matt is another lifelong Yes fanatic. See you on the live album /DVD and in future Band Geeks endeavors. So,
and I've got the dates on the screen, folks. So we'd love to see you chime in the comments and see what show you maybe plan to go to. That'd be cool. 2 nights in Richfield, Connecticut.
Oh yeah.
Huh. That's interesting. Why? It only holds 300 people? What's up with that?
Yeah, I don't know. All right. So, yeah, that's very exciting stuff. And in other prog news, Tom Brislin shared a video of a new studio that he has in New Jersey, and Kansas have revealed a dozen US tour dates. So, I think those begin sometime soon and then go into April. And then I saw a couple August dates. So,
And
people
are they
can
all East Coast?
let me double check.
And I wonder if they've ever toured and not gone to Kansas. Like, that would just be like, what?
Right. So, looking at their website, and let's take it one. Oh, okay. So, some of these are East Coast, like Florida. I see Oklahoma, Louisiana, Utah. I think that's Minnesota, Idaho, and New York. So I'm wondering if maybe there will be others filled out in between that we just don't know yet. But these are the ones that are public at the moment over at kansasband.com.
Cool. Awesome.
All right. And Dave Kersner is still mixing his Lamb Lies Down on Broadway tribute album. He said earlier this week that the mixes of the first half are finalized. And I think he even asked if people would like the first half released. And then people were like, no, we want to wait until it's the whole thing.
Right.
Whatever.
Right on. Word. Same here. That's like releasing half of Tales and listening to half, But I remember when we had Dave on to talk about this, we talked about the fact it could easily become a forever project, and here we are.
Right. Yeah, I think he's really close though. I do remember him saying he's like been listening and testing it out like in the car and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to hear when it's finished. And Steve Hackett's Alive Magic at Trading Boundaries, that's a live album, comes out the 17th. And in fact, I do have a picture of him signing like the physical media. Let me just pull that up right here.
Any word of a tour? Because I still have a ticket that they need to honor. I had the first row in the round at the what's it called theater in the Celebrity Theater in Phoenix. Yeah, so I'm eager to see him. He got sick, for those who don't know, and they canceled the show 15 minutes before it was going to start. We're glad he came out okay, but I really want to see the show with Craig Blundell on drums, and that's a cool picture. He looks great.
Yeah, I'm looking at the tour dates right now. So he's in Fort Lauderdale in April, and then Cruise to the Edge. And there are the Trading Boundaries shows coming up the 18th and 19th. April and May, it looks like it's a European tour. So maybe after that, there will be a U.S. leg.
Gosh,
so
I hope so. It was in April last year. Yeah. That's cool. Good for him. Nice to see him out. I showed Enja the first, what was it? The live film of Genesis after the is Selling England by the Pound tour film. Yeah. So she could see all of the very young Phil Collins, since we're doing the Phil Collins drumming challenge on Drum Talk TV Brilliance right now, but also all of Peter Gabriel's crazy costumes and everything like that. And to see Steve back in the day, like he looks younger now than he did then, because he had the big, thick down mustache and just such a great player.
Yeah, definitely.
Might have been one of, if not the first players to do the tapping on the fretboard. I don't know who's credited to be the first. It certainly wasn't Eddie Van Halen. It certainly wasn't Randy Rhoads. I don't know if Holdsworth was on the scene by then, or if McLaughlin did it with Mahavishnu Orchestra, but Steve Hackett's very could be in the running for the first person to do the tapping on the fretboard.
Right. Yeah, and another bit of prog news, Jethro Tull announced their 24th studio album coming March 7th, titled Curious Ruminant. So yeah, that comes out on March 7th, and yeah, really excited about that.
Hmm.
I'm pulling up the album cover here. It looks like one of those masquerade type
Yeah,
masks, but with like these horns and whatnot. It looks really
yeah,
cool.
yeah. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, and Gentle Giants playing the full, the complete live experience is now targeting a spring release date. I remember when Derek told us about that,
Yeah,
and
he
I don't.
sprung that on our show on the
Yeah,
Q&A.
yeah, and I don't think it had a target release date back then, so it's nice that it has one right now. So
Yeah, we'll have to reach out, have him on again.
yeah, for sure. So yeah, that's pretty much all the news for now, and we do. Oh, I do see in the comments Michael Hitzges. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Said John Entwistle first tapping. So okay, maybe it
Oh,
was John Entwistle.
interesting. I can picture that from a video, actually, a very early video. And it might have been the one that's in black and white. And there's like a little lake behind them and ducks and some guy going by in a little dinghy or rowboat. And Keith Moon kind of looked ridiculous playing in that because he's miming to the drums and just kind of like looked like a marionette doing this, like just tapping. I think I do remember seeing the ox tapping in that on his bass. That's a really good call. I'll look into that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Right. So, folks, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back on the 16th at 6 p.m. Pacific. And I won't say who it is yet, but we'll be interviewing someone who has played Yes music and played with Yes members. And so that'll be a really fun discussion right there. And yeah, thanks for tuning in, folks. So just keep an eye out for the promos when they come out after the weekend. And
Absolutely. It's going to be a nice
yeah,
surprise. Looking forward to that.
right. All
Thanks,
right. Well,
everybody. Follow us at youtube.com/yesshift.
at Yesshift.
At
Yeah.
Yesshift, sorry. I always mess that up. Facebook.com/Yesshift. And on podcast listening only, we are at
Eh, well, the short version, which still works, I think, is anchor.fm/Yesshift. And
yeah.
you could just type Yesshift in podcast app. You might find us. If you don't, look in another app. So we're
Yeah.
easy to find. Yeah.
And write us, especially if you're doing reviews, sharing pictures and videos, write us at yesshiftpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks.